Cozy Glow. Cozy Glow, Cozy Glow, Cozy Glow. Heard of her? I sure hope you have, because we're gonna dive into her right now. Does this image fill you with disdain, or anger, or disappointment? Or are you thinking, nah, that's cool, she deserved it anyway? Have you participated in any wild debates online about Cozy Glow? No? Just me? Alright, we need to back up a little. This video has taken me so long to make. Literally, I've been wanting to make an analysis video about Cozy Glow ever since I uploaded my all Cozy Glow scenes video, but it's taken me this long to even come up with a topic I want to discuss. Like, where do I even begin with her? Do I want to make a video that's all about defending Cozy Glow and why I believe she deserved to be redeemed? And do I want to try to deconstruct and understand her objectively? Try to understand the events that led to this moment? Analyze the moment itself? Oh, but it hurts so much to even look at. Well, fortunately though, after all this time, I think I finally figured it out. I finally have a topic and a title, and I think I know how to tackle this ending properly that way, so the Cozy Glow fans will understand why exactly they feel upset about it. You'll see what I mean. And all the, I'll call them detractors, who don't understand where the outrage is coming from, who will hopefully understand where Cozy Glow fans like I are coming from with the finale and why it hurts so much. There's going to be a bit of philosophy thrown in, but I hope to enlighten you with some of the things we discuss. First of all, we're going to focus on this scene and this scene, the two punishments, and why so many viewers took strong issues with both of them. Now, before we even begin, we need to narrow things down. What questions are we trying to ask ourselves to begin with? After all this time, I figured out a way to properly deconstruct these two scenes, that way we can understand where all the outrage comes from and why. I mean, pretty much just that. A lot of people have gone, well, why do you care about Cozy Glow's punishment? She deserved it, but a lot of people feel she didn't. We'll get on to that. There's one thing we need to discuss first, and we need to distinguish the difference between fairness and deservedness, because these two words don't mean the same thing, and they are often used interchangeably when discussing Cozy Glow. And I think there's some key differences between these two meanings that will help us understand the fan reaction to Cozy Glow's punishment. So, deserved. So it is often said that Cozy Glow deserved to be turned to stone. What exactly does deserved mean, though? According to EnglishPlusPodcast.com, they define deserved as simply based on their actions. Seems straightforward enough, and we'll surely be applying this to Cozy Glow soon enough, but let's also look at fairness. Fairness is defined as fairness aims to ensure that all individuals have equal opportunities and are treated without bias, focusing on the equality, of conditions rather than outcomes. Now, the latter part of that definition we don't need to worry about too much, but that first bit I think really is telling. Is Cozy Glow treated fairly? Is she given an equal opportunity and treated without bias? We'll get on to that. So looking at both of Cozy Glow's punishments and the context of them, both are very immediate reactions to the actions she undertook. They locked her in Tartarus because she was considered highly dangerous after her cataclysmic spell that nearly wiped away all the magic. And so we can safely assume that this is a reaction to her action and was done because this was seen as the only viable way to ensure that she doesn't do anything of the sort ever again. It's deserved. It's deserved because it's based on her action and is seen as a viable way to prevent her from doing this again. It's deserved. Is it fair? Well, I'd also say so. Hear me out. Since I say this because, honestly, I think if any pony did what Cozy Glow did and acted as unremorseful as Cozy Glow did after she was defeated, I think they would get the same treatment as her. It'd only be unfair if Pony did something of similar caliber to what Cozy did and behaved a similar way, but faced no or less punishment. Now, before you point the finger at Starlight and say, but she also did world-ending actions and wanted to ruin Twilight's life, why does she get to live among Equestria and be Twilight's friend? It's because Starlight did want to be Twilight's friend. Starlight did end up feeling remorseful for her actions after the reveal of her kind of cheesy backstory, but she did ultimately choose to back down and end the time loop spell herself. Cozy Glow had no such moment, only yelling and screaming at Twilight after she was defeated, during which she was dealt her just desserts in Tartarus, next to the guy she came up with the draining spell with, but that's a whole other discussion. If you disagree and think there's something unfair going on here, that's fine. I'd love to hear your response in the comments. The point of this video is not to change minds, we're just here to analyze these scenes objectively and try to come to some kind of conclusion. What's the point of this video again? As for whether Cozy Glow could have been capable of a similar level of understanding that Starlight came to realize, we'll also get to that. Another critical point when it comes to fairness is, was this really the only option? And we're going to talk about it. Her age. Should she have gotten off easy because she's a filly? In terms of deservedness, no. She's fully aware of how evil her actions were. She knew exactly what she was doing with the magic draining and the power grab. In terms of fairness, many will still say no and say that a filly should never be locked in Tartarus. Now, is that because of their personal beliefs of children in the criminal justice system? Do they just not want to believe that a filly can truly be irredeemable and that a filly could have been taught better? Many people don't want to believe this. Does the cage symbolize Cozy Glow's inability to reform ever, or just at that moment? I think honestly, when I watched this moment in School Raise, it didn't really bother me all that much because, you know, it's not really her ending at all. There's nothing saying she can't come back and reform later. So I don't think this moment symbolizes her inability to reform or Twilight's disinterest in reforming her. I think it's a deserved punishment, hopefully temporary punishment, and I would have hoped that at some point Twilight and her friends would have sought to see Cozy Glow, try to understand her, and try to do right and reform her. You know, if Discord didn't throw a wrench into everything. Now for the infamous finale punishment. Was this a deserved punishment? Is being turned to stone a worthy punishment for having caused a destructive rampage through Canterlot? And the survey says... yes. I would say it's reasonable to say yes. Just looking at the question as is, not even factoring in Cozy Glow herself as a character or the events that led up to this, I think destruction across Equestria's capital and nearly destroying the princesses in charge, I'd say Turn to Stone is pretty fair, actually. But obviously there's a lot more going on than just that base question, so let's dig deeper. Was this a fair punishment to bestow upon Cozy Glow? Is it fair to turn Ophelia to stone at all? How long is she going to be turned to stone? How long does she deserve? What's the right amount of time? What are they going to do after? Are they going to do anything later? What? There's so many unanswered questions. It is my opinion that this punishment is only fair if we can prove that this measure was absolutely necessary to prevent Cozy Glow from doing a similar action ever again. So was it? Is Cozy Glow really that destructive to where turning her to stone is the only way to prevent her next evil thing from happening? Was there not an alternative? I believe that putting her back in Tartarus would have perfectly sufficed. I mean, it's not like she could do anything in there, and she only got out because, oh, we'll get to you in a moment. Another alternative to make her stop doing evil would be something... redemption. If Cozy Glow was redeemed, then there'd be no more evil doing from her, and Equestria would be safe, so that effectively is an alternative to these punishments. But was redemption just out of the question? Apparently so. So effectively, in my opinion, this moment is stating that Cozy Glow cannot be redeemed. It is quite clearly sealing her fate. Now that's a heavy claim to make of a filly, whom we know so little about. And is it fair to declare that? I mean, if you really take a look at Frenemies, you have the scene at the top of the mountain where she very nearly came to the self-realization moment of almost redemption. We'll dive into that in a moment, though. On the topic of fairness, I mentioned something before. It's fair if all parties involved are treated with equal treatment and no bias. So, is there any bias directed at Cozy? We have Tyrek and Crstal, who are in the exact same boat as Cozy Glow, being villains who returned and used Grogar's Bell to attack Canterlot, and they go down with her in the same breath. It would have been unfair if Cozy Glow was the only one turned to stone, and Tyrek and Crstal got some other lesser punishment. So we can at least say that. But hang on a minute. What are we doing? Are we really saying it's okay for Cozy Glow, 8-year-old filly, to be punished the exact same way as the centuries-old centaur for doing the exact same crime? So here's the thing about that. You can easily argue that no, it isn't fair, and Cozy should have been given some kind of lesser punishment or be held some kind of other standard. In the real life, typically child criminality is due to some kind of past trauma or mental disease. But the thing about this is, unless it's explicitly the writer's intent, it's very hard to diagnose fictional characters, because although they can exhibit signs of certain mental states, at the end of the day, they're written to behave a certain way according to the writer's intent and whatever episode they're in. As for Cozy Glow, we don't know Cozy's background. We can't say she's been through trauma. We can't evaluate her brain for her development based on her age, or diagnose her for any mental states. You're free to speculate and headcanon all you want on those things, but it's impossible to nail down anything concrete. So, for the sake of argument, we're going to say that Cozy Glow's actions are her own actions, that she has to put up with the consequences of and own up to them. But hold on, aren't we forgetting someone? Isn't there someone else involved who played a major role in masterminding this whole disaster? Him? No, not him. Him! Yeah, that's right. It's time to talk about Discord. Hang on, I just got a message from Discord. Stop what you're doing right now. Don't worry about that later. Is it fair that Discord, the one who assembled the villains to begin with, to be allowed to not only be the one to decide their fate, but walk away from this day with practically no repercussions? He is the one who assembled them after all. He formulated the plan, he's the one who told them about the bell in the first place, where it was, and that they were going to use it to attack Canterlot. So when they invade Canterlot, shouldn't he be partly responsible for this and have something taken away from him? Thing is, it was never Discord's intention for any of this to go down the way it did. Now I know what everyone says, he had good intentions. He pretended to be Grogar, only to give Twilight a final training exercise before her coronation. The problem is, everything. He was so cocky that he'd be able to control the villains no matter what. He never thought at any point there'd be any real danger. He never considered the fact of a betrayal arc where they steal his magic from him, and lo and behold, he's quickly humbled when his chaos magic is taken away from him, and all of a sudden he can't do anything about the rampaging, magically powered up villains. It was just an accident, like Chernobyl. Though Discord had no malicious intent, being an accident doesn't make Discord clean of any wrongdoing. There was no malicious intent behind the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown, but nonetheless, there were arrests made for the incident. The New York Times reported that a few people were arrested and accountable for violating key safety regulations. It wasn't a sabotage, it was an accident, but nonetheless, some people went to jail for the accident. So should Discord have been punished for what he did? Probably. But I hear you say, he already made up for his wrongs, so let's look at how we handle the situation. After being exposed, he immediately runs to tell Twilight and her friends of the bad news, which he has a really hard time conveying, which honestly is pretty fair and realistic. He knows he's messed up, and he knows it's not a good look for him, but he knows he has to tell. But that doesn't make it easy to tell. He knows they're very likely going to be angry and disappointed at him. He's aware of this, and frankly, he's afraid. You can see how ashamed he is that he messed up and that it's all his fault. And he does try to make things right later. He puts himself in the firing range of Lord Tyrek, hoping that he can deflect a blast from Tyrek and free at least one of his friends. I think Discord does display a realistic sense of regret and remorse for what he's done. In his credit, he is aware that he messed up. It's just, yeah, he's kinda still a jerk about it. Have you ever heard the phrase, taking the L? Well, I can confidently say that Discord hasn't. He does good this whole time, but in my opinion, he completely misreads the mark and fumbles at the very end, Once the threat is dealt with, he shows no signs of humbleness or humility anymore. He's just back to being his regular jerk-ass self and sees right by virtue to bestow a punishment upon the villains that he of all people should be aware is terrible, yet he clearly doesn't care for their well-being. He doesn't care that he dragged them into the situation that they didn't ask to be put into, but he's Discord, he has chaos magic, anything goes, as long as it's to his benefit. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but you can see why now there was so much anger directed at Discord. He was very reckless, frankly didn't show enough humility by the end of the time when the villains were already incapacitated, and really, this shouldn't have been necessary, but it's Discord and anything goes. He does what the princesses deem is necessary to stop Koziglo from putting Equestria at risk again. But what I'm here to ask you is, what's stopping Discord from putting Equestria at risk again? We thought he learned his lesson, and he could never put Equestria at risk after what happened with Lord Tirek, but this completely disproves that notion. This just goes to show that even a fully reformed Discord is still capable of big risk to Equestria. He'll always be chaotic, and things will go wrong, but everyone seems okay with that, and you know what? That's all well and good. Oh, except when others end up suffering as a direct result of your actions. I guess we're not supposed to care though. We're not supposed to sympathize for these villains that got an entire episode dedicated to them, about working together, bonding, and coming to some almost self-realization. But I guess we're not supposed to care what happens to these three, and you know what? That's pretty unfair. Unfair. So what's the final verdict on Discord? Does he deserve to be stripped of his chaos magic if he wants to live among Equestria? I think that would have been a powerful statement, but, you know, there's a lot going on in Season 9, so maybe they just didn't consider that. But I'm done talking about Discord for now. Let's talk about who this is really all about. Her. Koziglo. Koziglo, Koziglo, Koziglo. If we were to decide one way or another if this punishment is fair, we really need to look into Koziglo and understand her. And this is where things are tricky, because we know pretty much nothing about her backstory, other than she moved from somewhere to go to the School of Friendship. And of course we saw what her intention was there all along, so... But did things need to be this way? Was there a different option for her? Could she have gone down a different pathway? And does that question ultimately even matter? Because if our answer is yes, then what's done is done, and all that really proves is that this moment was unfair and is rather tragic. If no, then cool, we've proven that Aphili is capable of being truly evil and got her just desserts, and we just witnessed that. And is that really what we want to see in our final episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? Seems sticky either way, but I think we're all being a little too cynical about the statue, but we'll come to that. On to Koziglo. Are her two punishments well deserved for their respective crimes? I would say yes. But are they fair if you consider everything surrounding Koziglo? How much of this was her own doing? Were the incidents preventable before they happened? Is there another way to prevent Koziglo from doing such evil actions again? Like redemption? But we're not supposed to mention Koziglo and redemption in the same breath, because that just means we haven't let go of the moment. You can look at Season 8 and argue that she was influenced by Tirek to do the draining spell. If we look at Season 9, she was mostly influenced by Grogar to work with the evil team, and then later influenced by Chrysalis to go ahead with the double-crossing plan. But all these really serve to do is deflect the blame away from Koziglo. But if that's the avenue you want to take, then by all means. But Kozi's actions deserve to be analyzed on their own merit. Hindsight is 2020. If Koziglo knew all the stuff that would go down in Season 9, maybe she would have made different choices at the end of School Raise, but who can really say? Like I said before, redemption is a viable avenue to prevent Equestria's villains from doing bad things again. So, can Koziglo be redeemed? If Koziglo can be shown to be redeemable, then that would make redemption a more fair and humane outcome for Koziglo that still results in Equestria's safety. Let's just tackle this head on. Reasons against Koziglo's reformation pretty much amount to listing all of her crimes, which we can go into now. Crimes such as, the draining spell, which had the consequences of almost killing Yona, leaving Twilight and her friends trapped in Tartarus forever if the plan had worked, whatever the fuck happens to Starlight and the magic orb when the spell completes, and all the other consequences that come with such a cataclysmic event. Raiding Canterlot, draining Princess Magic, threatening to destroy the Main Six, fighting the Main Six in a big epic battle. This moment I don't want to talk about. All the while, showing no remorse. In fact, she's quite gleeful the entire time, showing great pleasure and fun, while bringing about great destruction to every pony. She's fully aware of what she's doing, and moreover, her stubbornly evil personality that many insist that Cozy Glow cannot be redeemed in the first place. Therefore, this punishment is fair. Now, if you believe that, I can't really convince you otherwise. And if she can't be redeemed, sorry, this is where she belongs. But there's always another side to the story. So in spite of that huge list of crimes, believe it or not, there are reasons to believe Cozy Glow can be redeemed. Let's have a look, see? Reason number 1, and you detractors are gonna hate this, she's a child. I know you're sick and tired of hearing it, but there's a reason we keep bringing it up. So why does her being a child matter if she's so aware of her evil actions? Well, children are stupid. I mean young and impressionable. And frankly, people don't want to believe that a filly would be seriously capable of never being reformed. It's not that big a stretch of imagination to believe that she could be convinced to change her ways if coaxed properly, and I'll be honest, I don't think she was coaxed properly in this moment. So, maybe it would have come after some time in Tartarus, who can really say? Reason number 2, this moment in Frenemies. After having successfully worked with the Legion of Doom to retrieve Gogar's Bell, she realizes how much she enjoys working together. She feels an actual sense of fulfillment after having used her abilities to help others. If she's truly heartless and incapable of friendship, then surely a moment like this would be impossible. She proves right here that she is capable of seeing friendship in the proper light, and maybe she would be interested in choosing that someday. This moment shows that Cozy Glow is vulnerable to falling into friendship, whether she's aware of it or not, and that perhaps it's something she might actually enjoy, regardless of any conscious choice she made before or after. So contrary to some other videos on this subject, I don't believe Cozy Glow to be totally evil or beyond redemption. There's a big difference between not being interested in redemption and incapable of redemption. Not being interested in reforming doesn't mean she can't be reformed, but too often I see these points conflated. I can clearly see that Cozy Glow made every choice with evil in mind, but I'll never for a moment believe that Cozy Glow can never be redeemed ever. This moment was only a beginning, I repeat, a beginning, because although touching, at no point after do we see Cozy Glow contemplate or have second thoughts about the whole villainy plan. It's just full steam ahead on their double-crossing scheme. I get it. I think this moment is crucial for Cozy Glow, but unfortunately she just so happened to be with the wrong crowd. And like many pointed out, the fact that she sees friendship and ultimately chooses villainy actually makes her more evil, but I don't see it that way. I think it's a glass half full, glass half empty sort of situation. Yeah, she has the seeds of redemption, but her rejecting it doesn't make her more evil. It just means that she wasn't ready to fully reform yet. I like to look at Cozy Glow like a set of layers. There's a cutesy, helpful assistant in Season 8 who had the sinister ambition hiding underneath the whole time. But I think there are layers to Cozy Glow that even Cozy herself was not aware of. Climbing Mount Everhoof and working together with these two, needing their specific strengths to accomplish their goal, was a brand new and novel experience she'd never experienced before, and she felt a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction she'd never felt before too. It's precisely this hidden desire hiding deep inside that needed to be nourished in order for her to grow. This is what I mean by she's an impressionable young filly. She just so happened to be with the wrong crowd this whole time. Queen Chrysalis formulates a double-crossing plan, feeding into her old ambitious ways, and that bud is effectively nipped. But if things were different, and if she were given proper reason to want to be redeemed, such as discovering what it means to truly have friends, I'm confident she would have made the right choice after all. It's just a shame that that opportunity never arises for her. It doesn't matter that she made some mistakes in the past. Many villains did. It doesn't matter how aware she was of her wrongdoing. Many villains were as well. None of it means she's incapable of learning from her mistakes and being incentivized to embrace friendship instead. Was this the right note to end Cozy Glow's character arc on? Well, after all this analyzing, I really don't have a definitive answer. I'm sorry. These sorts of things are very difficult to explain and to convince everyone to reach some kind of consensus on. I just wanted to present the facts as objectively as I could and explain to both sides the reason for the extremely split opinion on this pivotal moment. I think most of us can agree that Cozy Glow wasn't as fully fleshed out as she probably should have been, And that's really the main theme when it comes to Koopa. Missed potential. They could have done so much more of this character. They could have really had a complete arc with her, give her a potential backstory, and really wrap things up in a satisfying way. I truly believe that Koopa being redeemed could have been the greatest redemption arc in the show, if that's what they wanted to focus on. Wouldn't it have been more fitting if the last episode of Friendship is Magic was the ultimate friendship test? Maybe we were all sick of redemption arcs, but I think this is too far in the other direction. And you know what? There's nothing we can do about it, other than argue about it for ages and ages. I believe this scene is unfair. Koopa deserved better than this. Maybe not free from punishment, but I think everything was completely misjudged. Discord gets off way too easy for something that he caused, and Koopa gets punished way too harshly for being a filly who showed the potential for growth. Wow, that's a pretty dour note to end on. Sorry about that, guys. But I'm not one to end things on a sad note, so let's look at the bright side of things and look at why I believe Koopa doesn't have long to wait before being released from Stone. Reason number 1. This is Twilight Sparkle we're talking about. Twilight never revels in deliberately punishing the bad. She always seeks to extend her hoof and offer friendship to those who have shown remorse and want redemption. And personally, I think by reading Koopa's horrified facial expressions after her defeat, that she may not be too far off from accepting friendship were the opportunity be offered to her. Yeah, it sucks more than anything that it wasn't, due to a snarling queen and a selfish Discord, but I believe freeing Koopa, and the other two, who cares though, is high on Twilight's list as Princess of Equestria. And what if I told you it already happened? Because for reason number 2, I have unequivocal proof that Koopa was released from Stone in the last problem. Well, maybe not unequivocal, but there is a hint that strongly suggests Koopa was freed after all. What is that hint, you might ask? It's this moment, right here. We get a sweeping shot to Canterlot with this interesting statue of the main 6. Now, nothing out of the ordinary at first it may seem, but what an odd thing to see at the start of this episode, right after we just saw the Legion of Doom be turned to stone at the end of the previous episode. What's the connection? We never saw the statue before, so it was likely erected after the events of the ending of the end. But what purpose does it serve, other than maybe to replace a no longer standing statue? That's right, I believe this statue was erected in place of the Legion of Doom statue after the 3 of them were released. If they were still in stone, we likely would have seen them in the future, but we don't. I believe this to be a sign, a subtle hint of their release. I would have loved to have seen this for real, and have had no doubt in my mind that Koopa was freed, but as it stands, I'm just going to look on the bright side of things. We have a filly who showed the potential to be redeemed, and a subtle hint that she was eventually freed. I think things turned out okay for Koopa after all, just like she deserves. Thank you all for watching this video, and if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and click the like button, and leave a comment down below if you have your own thoughts about Koopa you'd like to discuss. I look forward to reading what you have to say about this and engaging in conversation, because Koopa just fascinates me to no end. That's all I have to say for today, so have a wonderful day, every pony.